we're just a few seconds late because we're good evening now, Boo Boo. We're talking to, as we shall refer to him from here on in, as the accused.
He was just getting his story straight, that's all.
He was, and we were just discussing how we were going to do this and whether they'd be allowing him to do this from his cell. Not sure what the internet connection's like there and things. That's probably very good in New Zealand, isn't it? Knowing New Zealand and everything that New Zealand.
Yeah, we have fibre to the cell.
Fibre to the cell, absolutely. Do you have 5G in the cells? I wonder. Probably not.
No, too much coronavirus from that.
Yes. Well, have you got actually? We'll start with that then. You mentioned it. Are you still several days free of it there?
Yeah, I think we're 11 days free now. But it rocks my boat. We are basically on the threshold of saying we have no coronavirus left in the country, right? So what does the government do? They turn down all these humanitarian requests from people outside the country who want to come in to see sick relatives or attend funerals and things. No, too much risk. But then when the producers of the Avatar movie series said, hey, we want to come in and make a movie, they said, sure, come on in, guys, come on in. You're from America, really? The highest risk country in the world. Come in and make yourselves at home. You'll have to be quarantined for 14 days in a hotel where you rub shoulders with a whole lot of other guests that didn't even know you were there. Oh, and we'll pay for your accommodation and your quarantine, and we'll subsidize your movie. What the hell's going on? This country is just, it seems that politicians and bureaucrats, when they have the opportunity to bathe in the reflected limelight of celebrities, they just fall over and yield to everything. So it is unbelievable. We put our whole virus-free status in jeopardy because some politician wants a photo opportunity with a movie star.
Will they paint Jacinta in blue for the Avatar movie?
Well, obviously she's as starstruck as anyone, or she would have kept her hard line against all this sort of thing. And it's just, it just makes a mockery of all the suffering that the country's been through for the past 2 months to get virus free. They throw it out the door because some movie star says, hey, I'd like to come. Oh yeah, come on in. And, spread your virus anywhere you like.
I think that's a pretty international sort of issue, isn't it? There's various things going on around the world that don't make a lot of sense.
We're just lucky, Gary, that we are celebrities and we'd get the same treatment.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, that's why they're
I just feel sorry for poor old Ian, not a celebrity. The only thing that makes him famous is his chair.
His chair, yeah. Ian and his famous chair.
The chair is allowed to go wherever it wants, yet I am not.
Yes, the chair.
goes down and
the chair going down the red carpet.
Yeah,
the chair on the steps of the Parliament or something, or outside number 10.
Oh, that's asking for a green screen, isn't it? That's. I mean, I might have to get a green screen up for that. That's. No, we're okay. We're okay over here. We're still somewhat in lockdown. The Welsh government has still got us mostly locked down. So, but I've been out and about a little bit. I went to the post office today, so that's something I haven't done for a very long time.
We're standing by for Rupert, obviously. We're gonna give Rupert prod when he gets here, but they just had another child, so if he's not on childcare duties, then surely he'll be along in a minute with his 500 kilometre an hour.
What's he doing breaking FPV speed records if he's just had another child? Priorities.
Fair play to him. Good man.
So I suppose while we're waiting, we should talk about the convict in the bottom corner, shouldn't we? And so explain to us.
Well, that's either you two then. So which one are we talking about?
Me.
Yeah.
So anything interesting going on in your world this week, Bruce?
No. I am under investigation for being a bad person and breaking rules and flying dangerously. Allegedly, see someone's got a bee in their bonnet about me having fun while everyone else is stuck inside. So they've made all sorts of complaints to CAA, and CAA have sent me a letter saying, have you stopped beating your wife? And trying to get me to incriminate myself. And I'm going to do a video on this, just going through the CAA letter and my response, because I think a lot of people, if they're faced with, an investigation, probably be scared out of their little girls' knickers, and they'd want some guidance. So I'm going to try and give them the guidance that I'm going to, show them what I'm going to do to deal with the situation. And I find it actually slightly abhorrent because just this weekend, 2 more people died in a GA accident in New Zealand. And I cannot believe that they are taking all this time to investigate an old man playing with toy-grade drones when there are people dying in general aviation accidents for lack of policing of the rules, whatever. So I need to find out, is this just having to do it because it says in the procedure manual you've got to check on these things, or is there something that I'm not aware of? Is there some agenda going on in the background that they, for the second time in as many months, they've come out with complaints against me and they're investigating and so forth? Because I want to know what happened to my complaint about the drone that got knocked out of the sky by hikers. Why haven't they finished that complaint before they move on to the next one? And I want to know why they didn't actually take action when the Civil Aviation Act was breached by someone shooting down a drone with a shotgun. These things, they don't merit investigation, yet this old guy with his toy drones, I better get onto him.
Bruce,
I'm not happy with that.
You're wrong, because the problem is on the other one, they did not find the bullets, so they don't have a case. So
in the one, the trample one,
No.
The trample one was documented by the mainstream media. The mainstream media documented it, and they had pictures and they had comments from the Department of Conservation who run the national park, and so it was an irrefutable case that there was an actionable offence committed.
You need proof, because we know that drones are a fragile thing and they fall down from the sky by any reason whatsoever. So if you don't find the bullet, there is no case.
I think there were bullets lodged in the drone.
Did we see that other stunning bit of general aviation news from the UK this week? The chap that flew, and this is what makes it worse. He not only flew to a closed Royal Air Force airfield in North Wales to land and go to the beach, but he was in a PC-12. Now that is an expensive bit of kit. Yeah, it's Ian's fault. Ian's at the bottom end of Wales, so we can't really blame him for that. Yeah, he flew a PC-12, and I was flabbergasted that the station commander went out to have a chat with him, and the fire crews had a chat with him, but they let him go. Why on earth they didn't impound the aircraft and chuck him in the slammer, I do not know. So
because it wasn't a drone.
Well, just imagine if you'd flown. So that's like Gatwick squared, or whatever Gatwick times a multiple of a lot is. There really was an aircraft that really did land in a closed airfield that was actually having the runway fixed. It really did have no permissions, and they really have done nothing. Gary.
Someone can allege that it was an emergency. Something about that. You say it was an emergency. I didn't have time, so I landed on the nearest place where I could safely land. Period.
And then go to the beach.
Yeah. No, on the beach.
You could do that, but that's not what he said. That's not what he said, though.
No.
Even if it wasn't.
We had an issue here on a Cessna 172, I believe, that was flying with a trainee. And they landed on the beach, and yeah, tough luck. They opted to land on the dry side of the beach, so they killed 2 people while landing.
Yeah.
When that happens, because we've had that happen at our airfield too, when someone declares an emergency of convenience, then my philosophy would be, okay, if it was a mechanical emergency, something wrong with the aircraft, you may not take off until the aircraft has had a complete recertification to make sure it's safe to fly. If it was a medical emergency, you need to get clearance from a doctor to make sure you're safe to fly, all at your own expense. That would stop that kind of thing from happening.
I declared an emergency and landed somewhere once, and that was for weather, and they let me fly again afterwards.
Weather's a pretty easy one to determine the veracity.
You shouldn't be afraid of. You shouldn't be afraid of. There is a balance. It's better to declare an emergency quickly. I didn't declare an emergency. I called Tyro, which meant I was inexperienced, and it was weather. And I went into Blackpool. I tried to go into Wharton, but Wharton was it's where the British Aerospace make the Tornadoes and things. And they said to me, well, we don't mind if you come in, but there'll be an awful lot of paperwork. I'll give you vectors to Blackpool, and there'll be less paperwork involved there. So I went in there instead. So you shouldn't be afraid of declaring an emergency, but you should also have a plan. So I was aware of these airfields to myself. I was aware to the north that as I was flying from Scotland down to the UK that the weather was deteriorating. I was mainly aware of that because I heard the test pilots weren't getting into Wharton. So that made me think, best I make another plan, make another plan quick, because if they're not doing it, I'm not doing it. But this guy in a PC-12, jumped in the jet and went to the beach. You can't do that. You just can't do that. All manner of books, every single book on the shelf should have been chucked at him, and not only at him, but at the system that allows a light aircraft to depart without saying its intentions from an airfield. So that controller and airfield operator. Then en route, the controllers that worked him, where are you going? What are you doing? He wouldn't have had to work many if he went low level, which is, I suspect, what he did. And then obviously, well, there was no one to talk to at Valley because there was no one there. So he tried to go into Carnarvon, but he realised it was too short for the PC-12. So he did a couple of overshoots at Carnarvon and then flew on runway heading and landed in at RAF Valley. I mean,
was he a highly respected flyer? Because I know here in this country, it's not so much what you do, but who you are. We've had people get out of jail free for doing some really bad things because of who they are. You're highly respected. No, you can't possibly make allegations against this person because we've known him for years and he's a great guy. Regardless of what rules they break, they still get out of jail free.
Well, I'm amazed that the Air Force let him depart. As you say, well, Ian's saying money, but PC-12, so it must have been. I mean, goodness knows what that costs an hour to fly. So straight away, whoever it is, it's got some clout. But to say, what about, because Wales is under different COVID-19 regulations anyway. So they said, well, what about our COVID-19 regulations?
Illegal the second he crossed the border. There's no in between. Yeah, we weren't allowed to travel more than 5 miles as of Monday. Before that, no. It shouldn't have been in the air. He had no reason to be traveling at all, and unless it was for specific work purposes, which it wasn't. Therefore, it's worse than what they are hitting the guy in London for. Do
you think he was just testing his eyesight?
I think he was probably testing his eyesight and flew a little bit too far. But yeah, like I think, as you say, it's old chucks away, boys. Bit of that, expensive aircraft. Who are you? All right, okay, you know him. Okay, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What the hell are you doing? I suggest you get back home.
One would hope. Well, there would also been a great deal of paperwork to fill out for impounding the aircraft on the Royal Air Force base. There would have been a great kerfuffle.
Probably they didn't have the room to park such a plane.
Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Yeah, I ought to run a flipping digger over it. But it's I'm amazed. And if you had been there with your Mavic Mini and you'd flown over the fence at Valley and some press photographer had seen it, you'd have endangered every person on the Isle of Anglesey with your reckless disregard for safety, and you would have been taken to the tower forthwith, if not fifthwith.
Actually, Gary, technically, if you'd have flown within 4.6 kilometers of the airfield, you would have been, I won't use the term I was going to use, but you'd have been in very, very deep trouble. Very, very deep trouble indeed.
Isn't the Air Force 8 miles? I believe Air Force, usually it's more than the 5 miles.
We have a standard FRZ, so for all airplanes. So, but yeah, because you wouldn't have been able to get permission, therefore it's illegal under the A&O. So you'd have instantly been in breach of the A&O if you flew within 4.6 kilometers of the airport.
So let's park the COVID-19. Let's park the flying, and I know this has happened to Bruce, park the landing at a military base. The runway was closed and there were people working on it. There were crosses on the runway as well. I mean, just pick a card, any card. Which aviation card should we prosecute him with? I mean, it's got to be what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Is that the right phrase, isn't it? They've got to be following the same rules as those irresponsible.
The whole thing about closed runways is a joke. I've never seen anyone. We've had so many landings on closed runways at our airfield. I've not heard of one person being pinged for it. It's just a case of, well, these things happen. Really, seriously, why do you bother putting white crosses out at all?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
But the thing is, I bet if we held an event there and we didn't put the white crosses out, we'd be pinged.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit crazy and allowed to. I think that whole thing's allowed to be pushed to one side because the current chaos that the world's in. So the bloke's very lucky that the world is in chaos, I feel. But I think there should be a full investigation of everybody in that command chain, and from the person that signed the aircraft out all the way to the station commander at Valley, all the controllers in between, everybody. That should be pulled apart as to why that can happen, because that is unsafe aviation practice from start to finish. We're in the world of crew resource management and human performance and factors, and I am on my high horse, aren't I? I better climb off. I better climb down. I was horrified. I could just imagine when I was in what we stopped an aircraft leaving once. A chap flew in because his son had just died, just crashed in another thing, and we stopped him leaving because he was so emotional. So we said, "You're not fit to fly." He came in, and he wasn't fit to fly. So we put the tractors around the aircraft. So I'm surprised they didn't do a similar. Blows my mind. Harrison Ford prefers taxiways. You're absolutely right, Miles. Remote ID needs to be fitted on manned aviation to track them for security reasons. Yes, but for their safety, and security, Sky. And let's make sure, because if they have an incident or accident, we can see where they are and we can send help for them immediately. So it's a service that we can offer them.
And actually, Gary, it's been proved that they need it. We have aircraft that have gone missing and never been recovered, with large amounts of human life lost, yet we still don't have tracking on all manned aviation aircraft.
You guys think this is about safety. What has got into you? We know it's nothing to do with safety.
Now imagine there was full tracking on MH370, for instance.
It's only just rolled out this year, hasn't it? With the ADSB from space. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, in effect, that's only rolled out. Aerion. So rolled out in the last year or so. Putting the word air into the title, one of the headlines. Did we see that Air Maps headquarters got burnt down in whichever place it was?
I cried for seconds. I really cried for several seconds.
I think, look, I think I'm probably the first to say I'm not the biggest fan. However, it was pretty disturbing when you look at it. Thank God there was no one in there. Okay, I think that's rule number one. No one ever wants anyone harmed. It's a pretty bad mess for them. I don't know what effect this has on their service. I would guess they're not housing much in-house server-wise. I would think a lot of it is in Amazon, as everything
I
is
want
in
to know
AWS.
where Richard was on the night of the whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Where does he send the check? So no. It's particularly bad for them, but you would hope they would. I'm guessing you don't have a contingency for the building burning down. I'm not sure I ever had.
Marketing brochures are, aren't they?
If you have a good SORA plan, you have a contingency plan for the building burning down. That's what SORA plans are made for. So,
but I believe that it's not dramatic interruption. Someone did say the service wasn't accessible before I even saw that happen. So I'm guessing they're down somehow, but.
Surely it can't be. That must be just where the shiny brochures and what is it? Bruce says where the water feature was. Surely that's all that was.
Yeah.
Come on.
If it had a bigger water feature, it wouldn't have burnt down.
Yeah. It didn't work, did it? Yeah.
Gary, this is a good opportunity to invite them again to come here.
To what? Sorry.
We invite those guys to come here and speak about their wonderful system. To clear out all the negativity that some people here have towards them. So let's invite them.
Yeah, well, moving on swiftly. Perhaps.
We'll think about it.
ELTs, transponders, don't all manned aircraft carry? No, they don't. They don't all carry transponders, Miles. Not by a long way. And the push to get ADS-B into everything is a fool's errand in the modern world. The technology has truly been outpaced by modern stuff. Lots of modern stuff.
In fact, manned aircraft don't even need radios if they're operating in Class G airspace.
Yeah, that's right. No, they don't, and they don't. Yeah, they don't need to announce their intentions. That's probably what that PC-12 did. He probably flew out of Fair Oaks, headed west, got out of controlled airspace. Bye-bye, Fair Oaks. I'm off to the north, and didn't talk to anybody again all the way. I should think when at low level. I would have done if I had a PC-12. I'd have gone up 50 feet everywhere. But anyway, but that's another story. What else have we seen this week? Well, I was thinking of something else, and I've probably forgotten.
The thing is that our friend Pierre Cansir from Pilot fame has launched a new initiative for a conspicuity device for French that complies with French regulations.
Yes.
So
that's right, the Wi-Fi device.
Yeah. So he open sourced it, both the hardware and the software, and there is a company that can provide already the hardware. It just have to flash the software to it. So our French friends can now attach the gadget on their drone and fly according to the French regulations. Let's see how the French regulations will evolve, if they will evolve, starting in a month.
Absolutely. Where's the UK with EASA adoption now, Ian?
Yeah.
Where are we at for that?
We're not anyway.
It's a big mess. Come on. Most of the countries will just push that back because they'll use the Corona thing as an excuse, but nobody is going to implement it fully, and those are just guidelines. So you won't be having a fly everywhere for commercial operators. It's going to be a huge mess, as it is right now. If you want to go to fly to France, you can't. If you want to go to fly to Spain, you can't. It's a mess, basically.
It is. You know, the last official information was CAP 1789, which is the intention that we're going to go ahead with the regulations. They spell out some changes, which is the remote ID requirements, that they're going to require all aircraft to have it. Yet the CAA, from the way I understand this, and I haven't spoke to them, I've been reading through the EU side, they are saying that all aircraft will require remote ID. And the way I've taken it is that they've moved the remote ID requirement out of the hardware and made it as part of the pilot's requirements for flying an aircraft. So the pilot must ensure he's always flying an aircraft fitted with remote ID, whereas originally it was required as part of the hardware requirements. It's now just like the pilot is required to have registration, the pilot is also required to ensure the aircraft he's flying has remote ID. Now, the important thing about this change is that would apply to every aircraft. It doesn't matter what aircraft it would be, FPV, toy. If it's an aircraft, it will fall under that. And originally, under the remote ID requirements, it wasn't anything under 250 grams. It was only on the class 1, C1, C2, C3s, and it wasn't in the specific category. But this little change, which is literally a twist in wording, has large ramifications. And the basics are, it appears every drone will require a remote ID. But the stance has been, obviously, it's all tied up with Brexit. That's the problem now. It's kicked into the long grass. It's going to get kicked into the long grass as well. We're knowing, we can't even get Parliament back together today. This week there's a big kick-off about Parliament not being able to be back together. So the problem we have is the CAA are pushing ahead with what they think is going to happen. They got caught on the hop with Grant Shapps before when he turned around and said we might not do it. But the CAA are pushing ahead with, we're going to go this way until Grant Shapps says something different. And I think what will happen is, even if we took a different turn now, we would adopt the current path into legislation. So what we have today what we think we have today is probably where it will end up, at least for the foreseeable future.
Are they seriously suggesting that you put remote ID on something like this? Seriously, it wouldn't take off with even the smallest, lightest hardware. It's 28 grams. You'd be doubling the takeoff weight.
Doesn't matter. It's your problem if it does not fly.
Yeah.
If it does not
it
fly,
makes it dangerous.
Sorry,
It makes it dangerous. It'll catch on fire and burn the house down.
Yes.
Flight at air maps.
It has.
No, but Louis has a point. Louis has a point. It will not fly, so it's not a danger. It's perfect. Yeah. It's got rid of the danger. Louis,
in that case, it doesn't need remote ID, does it? Because it won't fly with remote ID.
It is.
It's a catch-22.
It's a very, very interesting change they've made, and it is subtle. You know, I read it twice and missed it, and then I read it the third time and went, "Hold on a minute, you've moved the legal responsibility. You've moved. You know, before it was the responsibility of the aircraft manufacturer. Now it's the responsibility of the pilot, and that changes everything.
And Bruce, just to make you further unhappy, don't forget that now you have to put GPS antennas and receivers on every 65 grams or 28 grams drones.
Yeah, well, fortunately I live in New Zealand where the rules are arcane, but they're not that bad.
No, and the part of the problem with this is they are referring to something that there is no documentation for. When you read the document, what they're saying is they have seen the way EASA are proposing it in the future documentation. Therefore, they're going to make it a comment now. But the problem is you read the CAA document and you go, right, but what are they referring to? And you can't go and look at it. And I haven't checked this week if they've published this update document yet, but a large part of the 1789 is referring to stuff that the CAA have visually seen, but doesn't exist in published legislation at this point in time. And that's part of the
discussion.
Yeah. Doesn't this show just how out of touch the regulators are? Because when they're under their investigation of me, they wanted the flight logs from this. The flight logs.
Yes.
So that they could see where I'd flown. Seriously?
You have
they think everybody is flying a GPS-enabled drone. And a lot of us are not. I don't have GPS in any of my multirotors. None of them have GPS because that's not the kind of craft I fly. Yet, the CAA can't understand. How can you have a drone without GPS? Oh, what's going on? You know, what kind of black magic is this? So obviously, the rules are not a good fit to the equipment that's being used. And I'm going to raise that issue and say, look, until you come up with decent rules, don't expect compliance, because people, if you're making it impossible for them to comply, they won't comply.
Just want to say to Miles, ELTs are different to electronic conspicuity in that you have to activate it, be it auto on crashing, that can do it, or yourself. So that is not the same as electronic conspicuity, which is what we were talking about. So all aircraft in the US don't have to have, or all around the world don't have to have electronic conspicuity. So there's, yes, you're coming into the minutiae of the IATA stuff. I see that in the noise. And one wonders if, remember, we also heard that Grant Shapps say, well, we're chumming up with our American friends in some of the things. They changed the ag rules in the UK this week, or slid that all through whilst everyone was worrying about the chap going to the beach. They passed a whole load of stuff, had chlorinated chicken and all those other good things are going through. So I wonder if other things are not going to be going through in the background now as well. It's a worry. It's the model aircraft guys would be horrified, won't they? Absolutely.
No. Why should
no?
They can do whatever they want on designated flying areas.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot your stock answer. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So yes, yeah. Oh, I'll give you that. And how's Rupert? Where is Rupert? Come on, Rupert. Tell us about your 500 km/h flight. he'll never be able to do it, will he? He'll never. You just won't be able to do anything in the future.
Did you notice the altitude on his OSD? I think he should cover that up.
And the speed.
Yeah, also the position, the speed and the position as well. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with speed. I don't think there's any speed restrictions, are there, in terms of the regulations? I see nothing in the regs that say you must have maximum speed. In the USA, there is.
No, there are some restrictions about speed. I don't remember exactly.
In the UK regs?
But because there are... It has to do with the total amount of energy. So
yeah, that's in the European regs, but it's not in the UK ones, is it?
UK, if it's trying to copy EASA, would have the same.
Yeah, but it's not enforced yet.
There's no speed regulation, but there's certainly height and distance.
What distance is only visual line of sight, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
which is a very subjective measure.
But they deem it as 400 to 600 meters.
Yeah,
really? They actually define it.
Yeah, they do. What they say is visual line of sight. However, they basically deem that as no more than 400 to 600. 400 is about the standard policy.
You see, that's ridiculous, because I know a lot of model flights regularly exceed 400 meters away, and my models are perfectly visible at that distance. So if you're making rules that people can't, that prohibit people from enjoying their safe, legitimate activities, then people will ignore those rules, and you start eroding the credibility of the entire rule framework, and you get a culture of non-compliance. They don't. Do these people not do behavioural studies when they make these rules? Do they understand how psychology works? It's very important. If you don't make it easy enough to comply, you just don't get compliance.
It's not psychology; it's reverse psychology, Bruce.
Now, talking about reversing, let's reverse back to last week. See what I did there. I'm going to work for radio one day. Did we say, I don't know whether we actually said, and copied and unseen there, Miles. Did we ever say that DJI won the 2 cases? I can't remember whether we said that.
I thought we did discuss it. I thought it was mentioned. I thought it was mentioned. Yeah, it appears it's all going to be quiet now. So that is rumbling on. I'm still hearing rumbles about Unique. The forums are beginning to get a little bit lit up about it.
Moving Switzerland. Anyway,
it would. I don't. Do we want to talk about this, Gary?
Moving.
No, bring it up. Bring it up, because they'll be my neighbors.
It would appear that Unique in the USA are no longer in business. That's the rumor that the internet is saying, and that's from users. That's coming from people who are now trying to get support, trying to get help, and
I believe Switzerland is an excellent country for drone innovation.
Is it?
Very forward-looking, and I think if I were to have a company, I think a drone company, I'd be quite interested in positioning myself there. I think that's what I do anyway.
It's very liberal on the flying of drones. You can fly a drone as long as you don't disturb anyone. You cannot fly within the areas of the airports. That's okay. And there was a TFR established. Last time I was in Zurich because of the Davos conference. So there was a TFR. No flights, just no flights whatsoever. And you could see why, because there was a huge amount of helicopters flying from Zurich to Davos and back. So it was almost a highway of helicopters flying for the Green Conference in Davos. So every green prophet of that was at Davos flew from Zurich to Davos on his own personal helicopter.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
It's interesting though. Why would you move your US operations to Switzerland? Let's just assume. let's just assume
Government money.
when you've already got government.
One good reason. One good reason is they have a large pool of resources for development at ETH.
Exactly.
And they have Altium also.
At the Lake Victoria Challenge, the Swiss government was serving me pints of gin and tonic, so they're all right with me. They're absolutely fine with me.
So it is interesting. So it appears, people can't get support, people can't get help, people can't get what they need to get their drones repaired, which isn't good right now. I don't know if you guys also saw Parrot's new hint of an aircraft. I don't know if it's been initially announced, but it appears they're going to be making a very nice thermal model and also manufactured in the US as well. Come on, Louis, tell us about it.
No. I saw the rumors also about that special version of the drone for military usage.
Yeah.
They won the tender, and please remember that they also were competing on the last French government tender for models.
They won.
Yeah.
And I can tell you one thing:
Australia.
we go. Everybody goes nuts about the DJIs, and people don't pay much attention to Parrot, but they're innovating very on good directions.
It does. It looks very good. It looks a much larger thermal camera. There's no spec, but the assumption is a 640 at the size of the sensor. So it looks like it's going to be a much bigger option for people, because the reality is the Mavic 2 Dual and the Anafi Thermal. Okay, the Anafi Thermal does have radiometric, which is a benefit, but they're still very small sensors. They're not big enough. 320, yeah.
320 by 160.
Yeah.
Come on. It's not a very precise thermal. It can get some jobs done. It's all a matter of purpose. You cannot go and do the same kind of jobs that you put $20,000 thermal sensor to do. That's obvious. So that's only a matter of, but for most things, for instance, fire departments and all that, that can be a very useful tool. And come on, it's a cheap tool, considering cheap, and very portable.
I'll be honest, DJI could have a real problem here, because they brought the first thermal Mavic style. They got the Dual out first, and then Parrot brought the Anafi, which was a bit better, but nothing has happened since. And now you've had Autel bring out this. Okay, it's wrong to compare the Autel because it's a 10 grand drone. So, yes, Autel have come out and said, yes, this Evo 2 thermal is fantastic, and it is, but it's a $10,000 drone compared to the DJI and the Parrot, which is $2,500 to $3,000. But if Parrot are delivering this, and it is what it appears to be, and it gets US manufacturing, it is going to give DJI a very, very big problem indeed over there.
The problem, it's not so much the technical abilities of the drone. It all then boils down to marketing and distribution channels and support. And that's where, especially on distribution channel, because if you're a reseller and you want to sell a drone, you probably already have DJI on the shelf. So your goal would be to get rid of those DJIs. So other manufacturers would have to come up with very aggressive pricing strategies for the retailers.
So government help might push it along, though, Louis?
Sorry?
Government help might push it along with regards to origin of product?
Come on, we all see the pushback that the DJI gets in US, and they still sell in US.
Yeah, I know.
Not so much, Miles. Not so much. But it can be quite challenging for parrots if they come up with a good commercial strategy.
It looks to be two models, doesn't it? It looks to
technically. I don't see. I'm very happy, and this small one has flown hundreds of hours without any issue whatsoever. So it's very reliable and portable, and that's what in the end we want it to be. Just stick the battery, charge the battery on the lighter charger with the USB cable, done. And
go to page 254 for part 6 on remote ID.
Someone else. I need to have a look if that's on the. See, I think that's the old document.
With those, someone obviously needs to get out more. Really, Sorry.
Are you talking about 945 or 947? Or are you talking about one of the annexes? But yeah, and this is what I do like about Parrot is they do their own thing. They do their own thing. They get on with it and they deliver a decent product. God, I was using Parrot Bluetooth gear donkeys years ago. It's good to see. And there's going to be two models. There's going to be a government model and a consumer model of this as well. But there's not a lot of detail yet. But they could really give DJI some trouble here. They really could.
So Miles is saying he likes Anathis, but can't share the data real time with clients or other stakeholders. So what's your workaround for that then, Louis?
I can share this because I've been discussing with a third-party developer one very exciting app for parrots that will allow not only that but a lot more than live feedback. You will get centralized live feedback of multiple drones simultaneously. So I cannot say much more without permission of the developer of that app. I've tested it, works fantastically well on a standard. You don't have to do anything on the drone, so it's just signing in. And I know that he's going to have a free tier with limitations on what you can broadcast. It's very, very exciting. People are, because Parrot did something right from the beginning, which is to allow people to develop for the Parrot. So they have the developer.parrot.com website where you can go and have access to the SDKs, so you can develop very interesting things. I can tell you that, for instance, on the Bebop, we ported ArduPilot to run on the Bebops, Bebop 1 and Bebop 2. Currently, we haven't ported ArduPilot for the Anafi. It's a more involved hardware. But people are developing some very interesting applications, not only for regular users, for fun users, as for professional users. Very exciting times are coming our way with some of those developers.
Pity they got rid of that wing, and I never got one before everyone bought them for 399 quid from wherever they bought them all. I can't even remember the name of that wing. Wing.
I know.
With what was it? Chip? Was it Chip or Chuck? Chuck was the name of the autopilot, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, I would like to have one of those. SkyTrain thinks it's the winner all over the East Europe, the race by a mile.
Yes, you can put
Parrot Disco. That's the name of it. Great.
You can put ArduPlane running on the Parrot Disco without camera control. Last time I saw, so yeah, you can. But I was mentioning the Bebops, the quads.
Yes. Yeah. I'm surprised that I should imagine that it was probably the what's that other the wing, the other wing.
Now the thing is, even the wing, if you join that with the Pix 4D and even the Anafi, I have the Pix 4D app on my phone, and I can do whatever planning I want to and do whatever I need with straight for the Anafi. So Pix 4D is having support both for the disco and for the Anafi. So it's very interesting what they have.
Yeah, very much. No, they earlier on.
Yeah, but
Miles mentioned AR2, and I must go. My lad's got the AR2. I must go and get that and have that on my wall as well. And it was so, we forget that AR drone was so far ahead of the crowd with what it can do in the sense that it had on. Yes, it was brush motors. Yes, it was gears. But it was,
that there are still people buying the AR2s, and especially on middle schools, they use it quite often for teaching about control theory and programming, because those are very light drones. They're foamies, and they're almost indestructible. Almost.
Another good question from Miles. Do you find the rolling shutter on the Anafi to be an issue? That's another good question.
No.
There we are. That's a simple answer.
No, I don't think. Not like any other drone that has rolling shutter. You have to account for it. So that's the issue that you have to be aware of. You know, it's a rolling shutter, so you have to program the missions and the surveys according to that.
Absolutely. The fixed wing. Well, that disco, I'm sure the other parts of their business didn't like the disco, because they even left the correct space in the back for that not Amica Sense. What was the camera?
Yeah, it's the Amica Sense. Yeah.
The Amica Sense. So they in the disco they left the right space for it in the back. And I said,
and you put it. And all the ones that I've seen were being used with the Amica Sense camera. So
yeah. So it goes straight into that into the SenseFly wing. They're straight into their market, really, doesn't it? Or didn't it? Yeah. But I was surprised that they didn't stick around. It was a great idea. It was a pity that they didn't keep going down that line. But yeah, what a great company thinking. And his daughter's a Bond girl, so it doesn't get better than that, does it?
Come on, Gary. What's the prospect market for such high-end cameras? Very small.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, what a shame that they didn't keep going with the wing just because I wanted one. no other reason other than that.
Yeah, I would like to get one too. I don't have one of those parrot pistols. Yeah, I would like to have one. I don't.
Yeah, so that's so that's the reasoning, and it's nice to have more wings in the world. And after that, remember, you also got to put that in the time frame of that was before wings got popular in the FPV world. People grew up from their quads and started flying wings and doing things properly, and that was just before that as well. So you might almost argue that Parrot was ahead of that little curve as well. No, I like them. I like them a lot. Got a lot of time for them, and they've kept plodding on it, and they keep bringing out a product that works, is reliable, and yeah, maybe the way the modern world is, we're going to see a lot more of them. What else should we discuss, gentlemen? I'm struggling to think what else we had to discuss.
The power egg thing, Gary.
Oh, the power egg thing with added AI and Bruce chain.
I've watched the video on this just now, and I don't know how they're still in business, if I'm honest. But it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Sky iTray mentioned Wingtra. Yes, they are. They're nice people as well. I like the Wingtra people, and very, very impressed seeing that operating off the beach in in Tanzania, and just how windy it was, and they got the landings done. Yeah, no, it's a tiny bit of kit, and it's got wooden propellers. Who doesn't like wooden propellers? I like anything with wooden propellers. Wooden propellers are cool. It was expensive. I think that's the only trouble with it. I was looking at the guys that have got the contender for the. I was looking in the history of the Canadair aircraft, Dynaverts. I can't remember quite what they called them. They made some impressive bits of kit in the 50s. They were very forward thinking, them Canadians, and they found out a load of the problems that the current urban air mobility, advanced air mobility crowd are having. They discovered them in the 50s. If you go back and look, just read a book, you'll find out all the problems, and all very, very well placed as well. The one of the things that Bell changed the design of their thing. I can't remember what their modern AA urban air mobility thing is. And it's exactly a flexing motor mount problem that is described in the Canadair paperwork from the 50s. It's exactly the same. They had identified it in their models. It's amazing. I'm ranting, but I think I would like to have a go at a profile scale version of one of those, just for fun. Flight tested 3 people on today, 20k for something for the base version. Oh, there we are.
Or the Wintra. Yeah. Come on. Specialized markets get specialized tools, and you pay the price for those tools. It's up to you to check if the price of the tool is appropriate for what you want to do. It might be very cheap. I don't know. I don't know that market.
Oh, an Optera. Do they still exist? Those big Opteras.
I'm not sure.
Can you still get them?
I'm not sure.
Then when are we seeing more flights? Because you are looking a bit better there, Bruce. When are we seeing more flight tests out of the yard? When's anything interesting going to come across the bows at the airfield to be destroyed by people with on-off for throttle switches there?
Well, it's a case, we've got the lockdown's been lifted quite a bit. Hopefully going to level 1 next week, which will be no social distancing required, no limit on gatherings. But the weather is the main factor at the moment. We've just had a long weekend, our Queen's birthday weekend, and we had a storm blow in, and it was wet and windy and cold. And it is winter here now, so go outside in the mornings and it's below 0 if it's a clear day. If it's not, then it's going to be maximum of maybe 10 or 12 degrees during the day. And as you get older, you get really soft. I've noticed this. And whereas when I was a young fella, I'd be out there all, the ice would be hanging off my hair when I had hair, and I'd be out there at just 6 o'clock on a winter's morning just waiting for the daylight to break so I could get in before the wind. These days I look out the window and go, nah. So it does have a big effect on how much flying you do, but people are chomping at the bit. They want to get back out the field. So there will be more mirth and mayhem coming, I'm sure. It'll be just cooler, that's all.
Yeah, so missing Tim's throttle switch and various spectacular ways that he manages to re-kit.
We're going to get him a one-position throttle switch now. We're going to save up and buy that and install it in his transmitter.
Yeah, definitely. Greg Sky saying his club opened the field last weekend and they can fly again. Flying still locked down here, all sorts of every type.
Yeah, it is here. I'm gonna, I got some plans. There's some interesting stuff I want to play with this week. We've got, I don't know if people know, but iNav have added rover support into the latest RC2 of 2.5. So it's interesting to see those guys putting some effort into rover support as well. We've had Ardra the new Ardra Copter. I'm not going to call it Ardra Louis. We've got the new beta, which brings at last the new compass setup, which works, and it works better than you had, Louis. That's the important thing. It's not going to say it's perfect.
With compasses, come on.
If it was CAN, it was a bloody mess, but it's better.
If it was CAN it?
Can it? Well, if it was CAN, it just used to. It prioritized them at the end, and if you had autopilots with built-in compasses, and it was a pain in the ass, but it's much better. You've then got some support for the new NORA flight controller from CUAV, and I think I'll have one in my hands in about a week, as long as it takes to come from China, basically. And I like the look of that controller. Actually, it looks really interesting. There's a new one I also spotted from, who was it? Sorry.
Polybro, or
Yeah, bit of a weird one, that.
Or the new Matex. I stopped looking at those small boards. It's almost impossible to track them.
Yeah, I can't. It's a cube design, but it's a bit weird, and you just look at it and you think, okay, why have you done that? The Nora looks really interesting. The Nora is a H7. It's an all-in-one cube. It looks very good for fixed wing use, actually, because what the fixed wing guys like all of the ports out of one side. If you look at the Durant and Dundra, I never remember how you say it. The cube is good for big planes, but for small planes, you like all of your connectors coming out one way, and it's much easier.
I'll tell you what Philip always says. You have a custom
carrier board option.
Carrier board, and you have what you want.
But you do. You can have it on the Mini. The Mini board does it. But it's nice to see CUAV. It's an all-in-one. It looks a nice controller. There's not a bad thing I've seen other than the price. It is quite expensive, but it's because of the sensors they're using as well. So
I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry with people that are saying, "I want something that'll do everything for $50."
The thing is,
10 years ago,
it was a discussion we had with CUAV when they approached us about getting support for sensors, and they asked specifically, "What should we put there?" And come on, we all want the best sensors available. And they went with the best bang for the buck for the sensors.
Yeah, it looks.
People want the cheapest board they can buy, and then they want to be able to moan like Billio in forums as to why the plane crashed because it's got counterfeit chips with no memory on it.
I've had this argument this week. And there was some guys were getting rather confused. They're saying, yes, but you can get a Pixhawk for $199. And you're going, well, actually, that's not it's a Pixhawk, but it's a Chinese clone of the Pixhawk. If you actually take the cost of a MRO Pixhawk, which is what everyone, I think, would consider a genuinely well-built.
It's a common preface designed for Pixhawk. The MRO.
And that is virtually the same price as a cube, as all of these more expensive controllers. And what you have to understand is what you're paying for is not just what's on that board. You're paying for what's been done, what support you're getting, and the development that's gone in to make sure that you're getting a decent product. And when people keep comparing these race flight controllers, which are $25, $30, and the reality is they are spat off a production line with close to no testing, stuffed in a bag and sent to you. And that's
you said that like it's a bad thing.
No, it's not.
And they're incredibly reliable, considering.
Then we have our beta tester.
Yeah. And actually, a comment, something was brought up today.
Trying to read up on it all soon.
Yeah, but no, there is you don't get an MRO Pixhawk for under $200. So, and that's a quality controller. Therefore, people do assume that why am I paying twice as much or 3 or 4 times? If you look at the CUAV, I think it's $360 or $370. But you have to understand
but it's the full kit.
It is. Yeah.
It is the full kit with the fancy CAN GPS that you so much.
I like CAN. I love CAN. So you do get what you pay for. Okay. I've been critical of CUAV in the past for some good reasons as well. I think that they've gone down some design routes which I haven't seen merit. In the sense of, look, if you're going to make an autopilot that has a design with the carrier board is changeable, then there needs to be an ecosystem around it. And that's my argument. Don't do it if you're not going to make an ecosystem, because there's no point.
They have some carrier boards in China.
Yeah, I suspect they do.
The thing is, we don't get exposed to that.
No.
But for some of the larger helicopters, they do have specialized carrier boards for those mega current boards. So
I got the V5 Plus. It's a very good controller. What I like about it, it's solid because it's all aluminium.
The casing is fantastic, and that's something that they always have. The casing, the metallic casing, gives him. And have you seen there are people doing some vibration testing on they're publishing their results?
Yeah, I've seen it, and there's some differences between the prop sizes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And quite interesting results for an older board from CWV, the Pixac V3.
Yeah,
which that just proves what the empirical results that, for instance, Chris Olsen, our former helicopter maintainer, have, and also my experience with it is how good they are for helicopters. And even for petrol helicopters that Chris Olsen, for instance, flies, he swears by them, and he has solidly mounted on the helicopter. So it's fantastic, the results of that Pixac.
It was really interesting, wasn't it? You looked at the document, and nothing was what you know. And I think what it proves is there is no one isolation solution that's ideal for everything. They all behave differently. They all work at better sizes and different vibration levels, and they take this out. And it is interesting that if you are building a very specific kind of aircraft where you want to make sure absolutely everything is, your choice of autopilot from a vibration isolation point of view is actually very important as well. And you actually need to not look at has it got isolation, but how that isolation behaves as well at the frequencies that you're going to get on the frame.
And don't worry, Ian, that's also a thing from the past. You're so happy about the automatic compass handling. There's something even better. FFT, so you can specifically filter out the vibration that you don't want to have on the system. So that's for you.
It was a good document that I read. Funny enough, I saw it about 2-3 weeks ago. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, we've got the new beta, which on Copter, I haven't got a. Have I got an aircraft I haven't taken apart? I can put that on. I haven't yet. I need to do that next week because I've got pretty much everything in bits.
How do you take your aircraft apart?
I'm not like Bruce. I don't smash them into the ground.
Gravity is the most effective disassembly mechanism. Trust me, I know this.
Now, Ian, I'll give you an advice. The best anti-vibration mounting is Velcro.
Velcro. I bet it is. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, I tell you what, it is interesting. It's a very good time from a hardware point of view right now. There's a lot of good hardware right now.
No, and the thing is, we clearly see a push towards the more expensive boards, the H7s. Considering that a few months ago, some people were saying, "Oh, the F4s are good enough. We don't need more than the F4s." And now everybody is rushing to, "Oh, I have an H7." Whatever color it is, and whatever model it is. So it's funny to see how these jump. So now we at Argo Pilot we have the top end boards and the very low end boards. So we are supporting quite a wide range of boards. So that gives us some extra. Foam earplugs also work. We have quite an extensive range of boards, so we get to see some very funny issues with some of the boards, which get fixed.
Does it support the NVIDIA Jetson yet?
That's a different beast. Yes, you support the NVIDIA Jetson and the NVIDIA Xavier and the Nano. You support all of them as a companion computer, Bruce. Don't worry. There's
a lot of work going back on with companions. AppSync dried up for a long period.
The biggest amount of work is around the around the Intel cameras. That's the biggest. You have Snoop, an English gentleman that is developing a standard companion computer with lots of stuff and very well presented and developed. And then you have AP Sync as a companion computer for several boards too. And lots of work is being done with companion computers, including the NVIDIA that was so much likes. And yeah, it's quite a fantastic thing that is going on. And we have, for the T265 Intel camera, we have been getting some very good results lately. And using a Raspberry Pi. Sorry, Bruce, not an NVIDIA.
I quite fancy one of those Q cars. Have you seen those, the NVIDIA things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks quite cool.
with the LiDAR unit on top.
And that's Ian's review. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks quite cool. Yeah, no, I have seen it. Yeah, this is all right. Consider buying it.
The $20,000 LiDAR on top of
a $2 Chinese RC car. Yeah, well, yeah, $5,000. I know. Look, we can all dream, can't we? We can all only but dream. I may have just bought a raft.
Just wait till you get Parkinson's. You can't dream. You can't even damn sleep.
Autopilot with the GSOC students is current as one of the GSOC students developing a quadruped robot. So it walks like a dog. It's already walking. So
most of my planes fly like a dog. So what's the difference?
So you don't. If you want, we can then mix quads with 4 legs, and when it lands,
But I thought there was a dog version called Ardu Rover.
No, that's the problem. We already have Rover that has wheels, and now how do we come up with a dog that has legs?
Well, there is a post. Walk-in robot support for Ardra Pilot has been added as well, I believe.
Yes, that's it. That's from the GSOC, the students.
Yeah.
And can anyone say feature creep?
Next, Pogo Pilot for the one-legged dog.
Did you
Pogo Pilot.
do you remember? Did you ever see the spider that was Adam Savage did a few videos on them, and it was incredible when you saw it, wasn't it?
But that was a specific controller that did it. So it was a pre-programmed controller that only did that. There were some kids' toys that had a spider and would walk the spider.
How's he been getting on with Spot? Do we know what he's done to Spot? Because they've lent him one, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't know what they did. What he did with Spot. Spot at the moment, I think it's more like a remote control gadget.
Yeah.
Some people have too much time on their hands.
Well, they've given him a multi-million-pound radio-controlled dog to play with.
Come on, dudes. Let's call those guys from Boston Dynamics and get you one spot for you too.
Delivered.
So why wasn't it? Was it RBO, the little dog, the little pet dog? Was
no, it's not Aibo. It's not the Sony.
Yeah, Aibo. Yeah, what happened to that? Oh, that was a lovely thing, wasn't it?
Was that the Sony one? What's the Sony one?
Yeah, I think so.
I was so close to buy one, but then I saw the price and said, nah.
iPhondo did a cracking review, and at the end, he literally said, "You would have to kill me. I'm going to die when you take this off me." He said he'd lost the distinction between it and a robot, and whether he was saying it for the video, but it was worth a watch. I suppose. Do we want to mention the launch? Did anyone watch the launch?
Yeah, I saw that.
It was great. It was not exciting. They didn't ship a Tesla Roadster to the sun. So
they drove the astronauts to the launch pad in Tesla Model X. It's all branding everywhere for Mr. Elon Musk. But it's such a big deal for something that they actually first did. What? In the 1960s, throw men into space with an American rocket. What's the big deal?
K9. Boo Boo. Yeah, Boo Boo's gone for the original rubbish dog. K9 there.
What you're going to say next? Come on, throwing people in the air. It's the thing from the Middle Ages. They put the guys in catapults in the air. So it's just a bigger catapult.
But what a roomy capsule it looked, and
very space age, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why does the camera always cut out on the drone boat just as the rocket's about to land? I'm suspicious. 1 minute there's a boat and no rocket. Next minute, momentary cut, and there's the rocket on the thing. Seriously, they expect us to believe that was this landing?
They did release footage after, but yeah, every single big booster launch has lost video at the point of landing, because this is only the third time they've got that one to land.
It's more. I think something glitchy must happen. Come on, there's the huge vibration. There's the huge.
They have a camera on the damn booster that goes into space, and that doesn't fade out.
Yeah, I'm with Bruce on this. There is a bit, where's the boat filming it doing down?
I think it would be bad press to see it crash that many times, so they just cut that bit out.
He doesn't hear about that.
Now you're going to say that the moon landing was filmed on Hollywood.
No, it was Vegas. It was the same stage in Vegas.
Where'd
you get the Hollywood thing from? Oh, you conspiracy theorists, you're all the same.
That video, I rewatched. Sorry, Gav.
Go on after you.
I was just going to say, I rewatched back the Falcon Heavy with everything landed, and it is mind-blowing to see it, to see the two come down and land, and then and just they literally just out of nowhere, and you just stand there and go, something that is a step forward, isn't it? It's something big.
Do they have a waiver for that beyond visual line of sight flying? It's a drone and it's flying beyond visual line of sight and it's flying above 400 feet. They must have so many waivers to do that.
I don't think they have a pilot in control, Bruce.
It doesn't matter. It's an unmanned aerial vehicle.
What amazed me is when they showed the other video of the booster coming down, it doesn't come down like that on the ship. It actually comes from the side like that.
Yeah.
It was a hell of an arc. It was woo, and you were like, whoa! I was expecting it just to come down straight, but no, it was on a hell of an angle.
Very, very impressive, isn't it? At the end of the day. And on that sort of note, has anyone watched Space Force, the new Netflix thing?
No, not yet.
No, I don't watch it.
I hate Carell. Is it Steve
I hate
Carell?
sci-fi comedies because I end up liking them and I shouldn't, because sci-fi should be serious.
No, I haven't. Is it worth a watch?
He's just mentioned it in the comments. Yeah, I was like, yes, UAV. I have watched, yes, and apparently it's not doing very well. And I have a feeling it's because it's a bit too close to the bone.
Yeah,
it's a bit too. It's probably what's happening.
I saw it. I binge watched it, and I prefer the other one, Orville. Get me Orville.
But Orville was a Mickey take of Star. That's Seth MacFarlane, isn't it? Orville. Yeah. That's
Orville is fantastic as a sci-fi series. It's a shame they don't have. It's a shame they don't have another season.
Did you watch Code 8?
Sorry?
Has anyone watched Code 8? The Netflix Code 8? It's got lots of drones in it. It's really good.
Okay.
It's a movie. It's really good.
Down. Code 8. Hopefully, Netflix is going to pay us lots of money, didn't it? That's what I'm hoping. That was going to happen.
It's funny. It's so much to watch now, isn't it? There's so much available. That's the
still
crazy
only
thing.
10% of us worth watching though. So much dross coming out. It's like we've got to have new content. So let's just get the Spanish and the Mexicans and the Guatemalans making movies for Netflix, and it's all their mouths. It's like the old Japanese movies and the spaghetti westerns where the mouths flutter and then the words come out 5 minutes later in a different language. It's
You just reminded me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where just that. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I only just recently watched that. Yeah, where he goes off to do the films abroad. It just reminded me of that, the Italian westerns.
Spaghetti.
Yes. Yeah.
Where's Clint Eastwood when you need him?
Yes. I think we are probably. I don't know what happened to Rupert. I don't know what happened to him. I'm going to nag him. Well, I'd
Probably arrested by the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be monitoring RC groups.
Well, if you can fly a PC-12 into Valley and not get into super duper trouble, then anything.
That's different. That pilot had epaulets, probably. Epaulets excuse you everything. You can do whatever you like if you wear epaulets. I'm going to get some as a safety thing.
Absolutely, they make you a million times safer, and oh yeah, and you must put on all letterheads. You must put captain as well. You must make sure you get addressed properly everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Oh yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, what nonsense. Whilst I have a coughing fit. Go ahead.
What's coming up on Sunday, Ian? What have you got planned for Sunday, mate?
God, I haven't thought that far ahead, actually.
I thought I'd embarrass you by asking.
Yeah.
Good job he never asked when we start this, because he knows full well I've got no idea what we're about to say.
No. I might, if I can find a controller, I might have a look at the iNav rover. Might see if we can set it up. I don't think it'll go on a
videos of all the other stuff with your rover that we're waiting.
Yeah, well,
has so much time on his hands. Oh my God!
I wish. It all went fairly well on Sunday because I tried something a bit different. But yeah, I wanna. There's a bit. I've got the rover. I'm able to carry on with that now. So
that's Louis' phone there.
Yeah.
No,
a close-up of Louis' phone.
We don't have time to put the pieces that came on the slowboat from China on my jumper. Come on.
You got the handle, Louis. You got the fold-out handle. Cool. Yeah. My T18S should be here soon with the crossfire and all that sort of stuff. Little feature. Apparently the failsafe doesn't work on the crossfire yet if you're using the T18.
What, S-Bus failsafe? So it doesn't send the flag, I'm assuming, is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The point of, what else? What else do we need besides a stable radio link transmission between the radio control and the plane, and if possible, some telemetry, and done.
You won't believe this.
Do you need?
I get sent a copy of the Spectrum DX9. Someone in China is making a copy of the Spectrum DX9 out of plastic that looks like it's recycled milk bottles and sticks that aren't Hall effect. They feel like they've got, I don't know, maybe garden hose for centering.
The DX9 I had one, and the sticks were not Hall effect.
Yeah, but this thing is like, I cannot understand why anyone would bring out a radio that wasn't OpenTX and wasn't. It was a copy of a radio that's not very good in the first place, in my humble opinion. But they're doing it in China, but it's okay because the new version is going to be silver instead of. This is a maroon color. Who would make a maroon transmitter? I have no idea.
Oh man, seen the covers.
You need a button, Gary. You need a button to press. It flashes up, and.
Well, look at that. We all get €3 each. That's fantastic.
And remember, with the exchange rate and everything, and the small handling fee that I'll have
50 million rand.
Hang on.
I got demonetized on Sunday for saying the C word. Again.
Oh.
Did you?
Oh, what? we've I wonder if that's happened.
Which C word though? Which C word? That's what we want to know. We heard you slip a few sly ones in. Not the normal
C word. Human malware. I
can't do that.
Demonetized for those.
Did you appeal?
Competitor?
Well, what I actually did was something more sly. I took the live stream down because I needed to edit the crap at the beginning off, Bruce, which you sat through. Thank you. And I uploaded it as a video. And I'm going to do that with the live streams from now on. I'm going to not have, because the problem is YouTube does not treat a live stream the same as it treats a general video. And even when you stream it, after that, it's hidden and it's not shown the same and it's not available. So what I'm going to do with live streams now is take it off and then upload it on, because you do it via YouTube. You don't really need to do much. It edits it for you and it transfers it across. I think it's different for a channel like yours, Gary, because you only upload live content, don't you? Pretty much.
Basically.
Yeah. So it doesn't
call it live. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, if you are someone who is predominantly uploaded content and you do live, YouTube just buries the live content, absolutely buries it.
The thing that you persuaded me to sign up for, I'm still not sure if I haven't sold my firstborn into the slave trade. I can't remember what it's called. I'm very uncertain of this thing that you told me it was like.
I didn't say it was all right. I said I'd done it. That didn't mean it was all right. I have had a substantial increase in spam emails since doing this. As Gary got a text message from me earlier going, have you noticed an increase in spam email since signing up to this?
And we're earning some form of Bitcoin at the rate of 0.0000000.
I've actually forgotten what the platform is called. Now,
so far.
Actually, while I remember, did you see that, speaking of YouTube, that the NASA got their video of the SpaceX launch claimed by National Geographic?
Really?
It got taken down. It got a copyright violation. NASA's own stream got taken down by National Geographic because the Content ID system, National Geographic carried the stream and they registered it with Content ID. So when NASA put the video up, it got claimed and taken down as a copyright violation of their own video, which is public domain because it's paid for by taxpayers. What a dog's breakfast the YouTube copyright system is. It is just a disaster.
I have noticed a dramatic drop this week, last week, this week, starting to see views overall fall off as people are returning to work and things. But it's a weird platform. You know, it does weird stuff. But yeah, I think they demonetized me about 10 minutes into the live stream. And then it was registered ever since. So from now on, I'm just going to do it live and then take it offline and upload it separately. That's the only way to really easily do it anyway. I have to say, I'm quite impressed with the equipment I bought. It does work very well. Bruce thought he was watching them.
Yeah, the audio is great because it stops now and then and we don't have to listen to him.
I've fixed that now. Bruce, but the audio stopped working and Bruce was like, that's better.
The machine that you wanted, the editing suite thing.
No, I didn't. No. I couldn't get that. I've gone down the road of separate cards. But overall, this is the most expensive button pad you will ever buy. Okay, it's the Elgato Stream Deck. It is really expensive for a button. It's a button.
Poundland.
It's a what?
Did you manage
from Poundland?
Because apparently they're sold out everywhere.
Yeah, I managed to find someone with them. That and another streaming card. But I have to say, it is brilliant. It's ridiculously expensive, but it is very, very handy. And it's just, you can program it in any app to do functions. But you can also, for streaming, you can program it to have everything up front. You can just press the button and with OBS and it all works. I can't say it's worth this cost, but it is very, very good at what it does, to be fair.
And you've got more
watch
buttons.
Your stream. Watch your stream. Makes your head spin. There's cameras here. There's cameras there. There's sound. There's audio. There's lights flashing. There's women in the background. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's worth it. Every step.
Has he got is there a camera on the chair now? Is there a live feed on the chair?
I used to set up a single camera just watching the chair in the corner and just cut to it randomly every now and again.
Live streaming, yes, that's it.
Live streaming,
demonetized.
From the chair.
Yeah, so no, I bought streaming cards. I bought another Elgato HD60, a HD60 Pro, which is the internal card. I want a cam link, and I cannot get one anyway. As you said earlier, Louis, you cannot get any. It was almost impossible to get this gear at the moment because everyone's buying it.
Have you worked out why your motherboard's being discoloured? What's going on there?
Yes, I have. I'm going to do a video on it, but it is basically the silicon content from the compound
Thermal
and
pads.
its thermal pads, and it's seeping
Yeah.
through the vias. It come off with IPA. I'm not particularly.
That's a nice beer, isn't it? IPA,
Yeah.
isn't that a beer?
Yeah.
I rubbed it in
That
beer.
was me.
It is very common though, only on MSI motherboards. Interesting.
I've got an MSI
And
motherboard.
something else, Bruce, and you might be able to answer this. If you notice the picture I sent, could you see like little wisps around it? If you look, there was also little dots all around it, which you could look like dust, but they're not. They're tiny dots of solder, and they're all over the back of the board, and they were not there, or you couldn't see them when I put that board in, and they're now all over the back. It's weird, and other people have also experienced it as well. And it almost looks like tracks. You'd be mistaken for thinking slug track or something like that initially, but when you look at it, it isn't. It's tiny, tiny bits of solder.
Very
See that with
clean.
wave soldering sometimes, but not with
Yeah.
reflow. So
weird.
there's wave soldered components on the bottom of the board?
I don't know because I can't think I checked closer. It's weird, and other people have had it as well. Both things, but yeah, silicon basically seeping through the pads, but it's coming through the vias in the board. But I can't say I'm particularly comfortable with that because that means
That's why I'd never get breast implants.
Yeah. My motherboard is leaking. Is
Or
the
not
term.
again.
Again. So are my LEDs are fixed, Bruce?
You must be a happy man. Has it improved the quality of your workflow at all?
It has. No. And I'm going to build a NAS. It looks like I'm going to be building a new NAS.
Is that LEDs? This is really going off topic. Is that LEDs flashing within your case of your machine? Is what we're talking about? Did they start flashing and going nuts, and you don't know why?
Yes.
Because mine have, and I don't know how to switch them off. Yes. It's like a flipping disco off to be left.
Cut the green wire. Cut the green wire and stand back.
So,
they stopped rotating.
I don't want to do that.
People pay extra for this crap.
I paid extra for this crap.
I don't want this. I don't want. What the schoolboy error I made with this machine, amongst many things, was getting my, as he was then, 19-year-old son to spec it and buy it because I don't know anything about these things. What?
Change the lights to sunset.
Yeah. What are you adjusting on your PC, Louis?
He's got one of those smart bulbs, have you, Louis?
He's got one of those smart bulbs in his computer.
Not only do some people have too much time on their hands, some people have too much money.
I am very pleased with my machine overall. I have to say, it's been
Louis running Argibulb.
Argibulb. Come on, Lou, we got to see that.
Look, this has gone far enough away to know, but isn't that? God, we're so boring. Before it was all about single board computers. Now it's about we've all got problems with LEDs flashing in our machine. What a bunch of boring old blokes. What a pity Rupert didn't come to tell us about 500 kilometers an hour. But maybe he was being hauled away by the police, who knows. So I will try and get rid of this cold. I will try and fix these LEDs and look forward to seeing everyone again next week. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Be safe, be careful wherever you are in the world. If you can fly, go and enjoy yourselves before remote OD comes and shuts all down anyway. And yeah, see you again, 2100 GMT next week. Look after yourselves, everyone. Here we go. 2 button presses. There's button 1. Cheers, everyone.